Hey guys, this is Vince again at Practical Performance. We are once again having a look at the E46 convertible for the VinceBar for Convertibles kit project. In this episode, we're going to once again inspect the undercarriage, the RACP. The rear axle assembly with the subframe is out, and given this, we now have a better view of what's going on. So once again, this is the reaching for a tool. This is the left rear mount here. This here is the hairline crack I was trying to show earlier on in the previous video where we had the rear axle covering the whole thing. We can now better view obviously both sides. I'm trying to get the light to work here. I cannot see that there is any crack on the right side. We have the left front here. I still have the studs there. I left them there for a reason, because going over to the right side, this is where typically the cracks on the front appear first. I cannot see any apparent cracks around the stud of the hex piece there, but underneath the stud there might be. There's a high probability there are cracks there. So what we'll do is I'm going to remove the tank, because obviously it's still covering some stuff here, and I'm going to also remove the brake lines, the vent hose, and over here we can again see where we get into some trouble with the tank and the filler neck here, because I'm going to install the VIN skins over these areas, all the mounts. I want to have a sort of a clear passage. I want to repaint all the underside with the color correct color, and sort of refresh it. So I'm going to be removing all this stuff and thoroughly cleaning the underside and having a look at some of the spot welds. We can see there's a spot weld that is rusted. That can be a separation or a popped spot weld, as you call them. I'm still a little bit concerned about sort of there's a crack here. This is again the left wheel well, the arch over here, the inside arch. This is where there are also some separations on this 330. There is no cracks there, but as there are some cracks, or I don't know if they're cracks really, but it does look a bit funny there with the dirt. So I'm gonna get that off and have a look. Let's see, what else can we see? It looks to be in pretty good shape, this convertible. So with that said, I'm going to take this apart some more. I'm going to clean it. That's a pain in the ass. Get a lot of dirt in your eyes, but it's unfortunately very necessary. So I've made quite a bit of progress here. I've removed the tubes, the brake lines, the vent tube, the petrol tank, the gas tank, obviously. This section will be a little bit of tips and tricks, essentially, for removing that, and also an update on what I found after removing most of the dirt. So I've gone through, done most of the undercarriage with a wire brush like this. While doing that, I held a vacuum cleaner, the nozzle right next to it, so kind of catch most of the debris. Let's actually go over here. I just wanted to point out that when you remove the gas tank, you will need to remove the tubes that come through this, the hoses that come through this tube that comes out over here, that hole there, and goes into the gas tank. I'm mentioning that because the tricky part is actually getting the connections loose here. It's I found that it's easiest to do. So you have the hose, and then there's a rubber hose, the plastic hose, a rubber hose, and then you have the what it connects to. So I found that it was easier to disconnect there. The other thing I wanted to show is that I used a couple of these. Let's see if I can get that loose. A couple of these rubber grommets, hats, whatever you want to call them. And what I did is, because when you remove the brake lines that come around this way over here, and then they run forward, let's see if I can get the light. So they come down, well actually they follow these studs here. They come down and they go forward over there. You need to disconnect two, so there are hoses, plastic hoses that come up here that connect to the gas tank. They're rubber sort of hoses there as well. You need to disconnect here as well. So now when you've done that, I also removed the fuel filter because I'm going to be replacing that anyway. So you can get all that out of the way. The problem is the brake lines, the hard lines, they're long. There's no connection up here. So what I did is, using a pipe sort of cutter thing, I cut the tubes here, and I used two of those grommets that I just showed you, just to not get debris in there. I'll put connections there later on. It's just so much easier to work with. The underside, what I'll do is, this project kind of spiraled, not really out of control, but I'm probably gonna be, just refreshing everything here. So I went ahead and I didn't brush just this area where I'm gonna be working. I did most of well actually all of it, the underside, got the loose dirt off, and I'm gonna be degreasing and we're going back here now. Degreasing and there you go. Hope you're not getting seasick with my camera technique. Degreasing and so on and so forth. So anyway, back to the update here. We saw this crack before. What I did find, and that if I had looked closer, I probably would have seen it before getting the grime off here, but there's a popped spout weld right there. And let's get some more light on that. A popped spot weld is actually that's what you call it, but the spot weld itself is perfectly fine. It's the area around, so the metal around the spot weld that breaks. It's the heat affected zone, and it's also because of that's where the stress concentration is. So anyway, that's popped. We have the crack over there. There was no issue over here. That's really just only the seam sealer that is, I don't know, poorly put there, losing words. So there's no issue there, and we saw before there's nothing out here as well. On the right side, I cannot find any damage, which is great. This again seems to be in great shape. This 330 over to the left front, cannot see any cracks. I do, however, see, there we go. So the spot welds, there's probably been some flexing going on because the spot welds are rusty, as you can see. They haven't popped yet, but I think I probably catch this in the nick of time. On the front right side, I'm gonna spin around. It's even worse actually, which is what you could expect. This is typically where you get most of the cracks on the fronts. I cannot find any cracks. Actually, you know what? I almost forgot. Previously, I had left the studs here because I wanted to make a point of that you cannot see this area around here when they're there. Most people leave them there when they're doing the inspections. What typically happens is, and it has not happened here as far as I can see, there's no cracks here, but as you can see, the hex piece is kind of large, but the piece that the the part of it that actually runs against the RACP is kind of small, as you can see here where the shiny area is. So because this is moving around the stud and because of cornering and up and down forces, actually I'm gonna go get to that as well in the next video, kind of explain what's going on here. I realize I haven't really done a good job on that, but that's gonna be the next video. Anyway, what happens is typically you find a hairline crack around this area here. So the RACP sort of cracks around there and it starts moving up and down. What we can see though is it hasn't happened here, and what we can see, probably not really visible in the video, but there is a dent here. So you typically get where the lip, you can see the rubber marks there, with a lip from the standard, the factory bushing pushes up there. There's also, I have found when examining this, the mount inside of here, obviously there's the threaded sort of tube pipe thing here, but there's also a base plate on both the bottom and the top side. However, the base plate is not completely flat as you would expect. There is, if you imagine, it goes like this, and then there's sort of a indentation upwards there, probably to make it stiffer, but unfortunately it's right where that hits. So that's why it's possible to dent it. This is not too bad. A lot of cars has it a lot worse. So the lip hits where there's a, a cavity basically underneath this thin layer of sheet metal. That's kind of, and also this spot weld there, those two together are the culprit of the crack that typically forms here. And then that crack, if you go around, I'm going towards the front now, that crack typically comes around like this and then goes up into, first that it can go into this panel of course, and then it can actually, I've seen as well, go into the next layer here as well. And it typically also runs on the front here and around and up. Again, I have no cracks on the right front here, which is great. What I can see though is that there has been some flexing going on because of the spot welds have rusted. We can see that they've rusted here as well. So, and there's a spot weld over there as well. Speaking of rust and welds, this is a clear case where why essentially I advocate for welding as little as possible under here, under the car, or the car essentially anytime, because as you can see where it's been rusting is where the welds have been applied. So over on this side here, we're on the right side now, we have a spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld. There's a MIG welder there as well. But as you can see, that's the areas where you have rust. And mostly due to the fact that there is metallurgical, things going on that makes the metal more, well, it's easier to rust, essentially. To make a long story short, I'm losing words here. So that's so far. It's a lot nicer being under here now as well, that the loose dirt is gone. What I'll do, the next step is to sort of clean these up with degrease. Some hours later, I'm back under the car giving an update. I've pretty thoroughly been cleaning the underside now. And I just wanted to give you a few tips on that as well. So what I've done is I sprayed the underside of the car with in sections, obviously, with degreaser. I've used one of these dishwashing sponges, the sort of the rougher or what do you call it, side. I used a couple of these. A bucket of warm water with actually linseed soap, an organic product, or at least environmentally friendly, lean soap in Swedish, and a cloth, a fiber cloth. So several buckets of water with the linseed soap. I sort of replace that water, wrong word, but nevertheless. So I used a lot of water, a lot of the linseed soap. And so first of all, again, degreasing, using the sponge to loosen up the dirt and the oil and the grime, and then the sponge with water, and then finally wipe it all off with the microfiber cloth and water. And it turned out very well. That linseed soap was way over expectation. I have that because I've been painting my garage doors with linseed paint, linseed oil paint, to be correct. Anyway, so that's a tip if you want. I'll just show you here before we dig into the other details. The wheel wells. So now it's really nice and clean. I can sort of work with the areas there that have been scraped off. The paint has been scraped off because a previous owner was running too wide wheels and spacers. So I'll be taking care of that as I'm doing the underside as well. And I've gone up until this point here, and I'll be doing the rest later on. I haven't actually found, I believe, any additional damage if we go back to that. So having a look at this area, see if I hold the light like that. Again, the crack. Again, the pop spot weld. Again, this area over here where the poorly applied seam sealer had me fooled, and I'm thinking that there would maybe be a crack there. On the right side, still no sign of any cracks, which is great. Actually, coming around this way, I was talking about how, well, let's get to that in just a minute. Let's go to the left mount here. Cannot find anything else than the previous rusty spot welds, which indicate flexing, and I'll get to that as well, why. And then finally the right front, which is typically the front mount that cracks the most, probably because of the shape being different, because of the gas filler neck that comes down sort of this way around there. Anyway, we talked about the indentation. Does that show? Not really. It's hard to get that on film, especially as it's not too bad. What could possibly maybe be an issue is, see if I can get the light to stick there. That could possibly maybe be a crack. It's at least cracked paint with rust under it. That's not the typical place where you'd crack. You would see the crack come around more like this, but we'll see later on when we remove the paint. So, go spinning around and having a look at this area again. I was previously talking about how the welded areas is where the most of the are more prone to rusting, if I put it that way. I was saying that these the rusted areas were due to spot welds, but at closer inspection and sort of refreshing my memory, I think these are actually MIG welds from the outside, because the height of this sort of lip here is so small. I don't think they got the spot weld machine as here. You see that's a lot larger. So I believe this here is the penetration from a MIG weld from that side, and these are also MIG welds from the side where I'm pointing there. Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that. And the other thing is, I've been talking about how rusted spot welds sort of indicate movement or flexing. And why is that? Well, it's kind of easy, really. Imagine if, so you have, let's see if I have a good example. Yeah, let's do this one here. Imagine now you have the skin and you have the base plate inside of here on the inside for the actual mount. Imagine the mount going up and down, sort of flexing, moving. Now the mount would be pulling on this skin here with at the points where you have the spot welds. That's where they are connected. So as the base plate is going up and down, it's kind of pulling only these spots. And obviously there's going to be stress concentrations around there. And as that's happening, the paint is cracking. And when the paint cracks, you start to get rust. That's why that's an indication of movement. And you would also, so there's another one. This one looks funny. Could actually be a initial separation going on there. But anyway, so there's a number of those, and that's why I'm saying that that is an indication of movement. These, I've been talking about these as well up here. Why are they important? Well, again, the mount is here, the base plate, and then you sort of have the mushroom coming up. So you have the stem, and then there's sort of a mushroom piece here, and that connects. So these spot welds connect to an inside structure that absorb the sort of up and down motion, and also the tipping of the, well, it's not going to be tipping like this. It's going to be moving very slightly because of the cornering forces from the wheels, what do you call them, trailing arms? No, not trailing arms, but the arms where, you know, where you have the springs and all that sitting. Again, losing words. They connect really close here into the subframe, really close to the front mount. So the front mounts take most of the lateral movement, the lateral forces, I should say, side to side forces. And then you can imagine that the studs are moving a little bit like this every time you do hard cornering. And that sort of tilts the whole mount inside of here, creating stress, obviously. And that's kind of something that the top side front gusset cups, the VinceBar gusset cups, address. I think that's all for now. I'm going to dive deeper into, as I mentioned earlier, well, what's going on really? Why do the cracks appear? What forces are applied to the rear axle carrier panel from the subframe, resulting from the rear axle and the torque from the engine, as well as the drive axle, the torque. I'm losing lots of words today. But that's so much information that I'm going to be saving that for a later video. Hope you want to view that as well.